Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you today upon reaching another milestone in Ford industrial history. The year so far has been most significant. The 1935 car met with most generous approval throughout the entire world, and our dealerships set about to establish a high sales volume. Much progress has been made during the year, and the friendly relations existing between the dealership and our factory have been most gratifying. However, the real job is yet to be done. The year 1935, with its most satisfactory sales results, should be viewed merely as a training period for better things to come. Ford dealers, during the past 30 years, backed by an institution whose entire career has been one of notable achievement, have made a valuable contribution to business. They have set a splendid example for constructive effort. Today, in key cities throughout the United States and Canada, thousands of Ford men are gathered in meetings similar to this. Leadership carries a deep responsibility, and particularly so in this case. As sales representatives of an organization whose entire history has been one of such achievement, you should be familiar with the real spirit which animates that organization. The picture which follows is designed not only to broaden your own conception of the forces working with you, but should materially aid you in meeting the responsibilities of the year that is to come. With this as a background, with a confidence born of intimate, honest contact, supplemented by industrious, intelligent, and well-directed effort, we can set our goal far ahead of what we have accomplished this year without any fear of failure to reach that goal. We hope that from this moving review of Ford activities, you will derive inspiration and profit to better fit you to meet any test of good business in the years to come.
November 1st, 1934. While the world debated the ability of the Ford organization to produce and market 1 million cars in a so-called Depression year, Henry and Edsel Ford answered with action. Henry Ford struck the keynote at one of the informal round-table discussions in which Ford executives take part daily. Here, the problems of a busy industrial organization are met one by one, and the company's course is charted in the light of past experience and future ideals. As always, Mr. Ford was brief and to the point.
The answer is work.
Embarked upon a program for production of 1 million cars, the Ford Motor Company went to market. Under the direction of A.M. Weibel and his staff, arrangements were completed to buy hundreds of millions of dollars worth of materials from over 6,000 suppliers. All America, in fact, most of the world, contributed the materials to build that 1 million cars. Ford purchases started wheels turning in thousands of other factories, distributed orders to every conceivable type of industry, from makers of brooms to the builders of huge dynamos. Mining made its contributions of coal and ore to the mountains of materials required. Farmers were called upon for huge quantities of cotton, flax, wool, lumber, soybeans, castor beans, sugar cane, pitch pine, and scores of other agricultural products, totaling many millions of dollars in value. Literally, hundreds of materials grown on the farm, dug out of the ground, or made in other industries go into the making of Ford cars. The world goes to work when Ford goes to work. These great mountains of material converged at Dearborn, where men and machinery were ready to write the next chapter in the story of Ford production, from earth to automobile. The Ford Rouge plant covers an area as large as a good-sized city. Indeed, its population of more than 75,000 workers makes it in reality an industrial city, the like of which the world knows nowhere else. Ford efficiency, Ford quality begin with the handling of raw materials. The first thrifty dividend for Ford V8 owners is declared long before the car begins to take shape. Thereafter, every move in the Ford manufacturing process means more dividends for Ford owners in the shape of a finer car at less cost. Over 7.25 million square feet of floor space, nearly every industrial trade known to man is plied in the Rouge at its skillful best. In the 30-acre foundry, largest in the world, Ford V8 engine blocks, crankshafts, and other castings are formed with precision and material control defying ordinary description. From Ford glass plants come millions of square feet of Ford safety glass, made under Ford standards. From huge blast furnaces pours white-hot iron. Open hearth furnaces belch steel for rolling in the mighty mills. Every bit of the material Ford controlled. Miles of conveyors take the backbreak out of industrial tasks and speed the making of Ford cars. And yet, amazingly enough, there is no confusion, interference, or haste in the measured progress of raw materials to finished parts. Along every foot of its journey, every second of time, the material is under full control. Perfection through precision is the goal. 30 hours from the time iron ore is fed into the Rouge plant blast furnaces and flows from their fiery depths in a molten stream, it may emerge from the same Ford plant as a finished part, functioning perfectly in a complete Ford V8. V8s in 1935 has been described by industrial commentators as a miracle of modern manufacture. But Ford men don't recognize miracles. Mr. Ford's straightforward statement, made first at a round-table gathering in Dearborn, echoed out through the huge buildings and shops of the Rouge plant. It was repeated in the roar of the blast furnaces and in the steel mills, in the rumble of many great rollers as they swallowed ingots and returned them as slender steel bars. They all took up the refrain, "The answer is work." It was echoed in the homes of thousands of workmen who heard it with quickening hearts and returned to their stations at thunderous hammers or delicate precision machinery so important to Ford production. As though in celebration, great welding machines sent showers of sparks high up toward the steel roof girders. And though the answer to all this was hard work, it meant directed work, painstaking work, endless testing and inspection. Production of millions of parts every day meant precision, such precision as none ever practiced before. Precision meant quality, the best materials, best equipment, and best workmanship. From every quarter of the plant came parts, great and small, to meet at a given point and join with others to make a completed V8 engine, a chassis, a body, and finally, a completed car. To achieve these ends of excellence and precision came thousands of workers to fill thousands of jobs. In the Ford plants alone, over 100,000 men made up the payroll. And over the nation, a far greater number were demanded by the allied industries that helped fill Ford orders. Despite the development of ingenious mechanical manufacturing methods, the foundation of Ford production is manpower. From many localities the workers come, thousands of them riding in cars of their own making. Lines of autos cover miles of parking lots in the Rouge plant. Machines bear the burdens, but the masters are men. There are actually more man-hours of work in every Ford V8 today than there were in the Ford Model T of 10 years ago. The rising hum of activity at the Ford River Rouge plant was echoed around the world, for it may truly be said that the sun never sets on the Ford organization. Ford is a worldwide institution. In addition to the many Ford plants and 34 branches in the United States, Ford production, assembly, and service plants dot the map in scores of foreign lands. In the entire world, outside of the United States, there are 44 Ford organizations. In each nation, Ford plants rank well toward the top in size and importance. At Windsor, Canada, on the Detroit River, stands the busy plant of Ford of Canada. It is within sight of Detroit's jagged skyline, but its product goes to every province in the Dominion and on further to distant corners of the British Empire. Half round the world go the carefully boxed Ford V8s built in this thriving plant. The folks down under in Australia or New Zealand are as familiar with the Ford V8 as we are, thanks to Ford of Canada. Ford of Canada is the largest automobile plant in the British Empire but one. That one is the big Ford plant at Dagenham-on-the-Thames, near London. A trip to Britain's Ford plant begins typically enough in busy London streets. A few familiar landmarks help. Everyone knows Lord Nelson's monument in Trafalgar Square and the Ford V8. Now we're on familiar ground. Cheerio! Next step is to ask a London bobby how best to reach the Ford plant. I say there, can you tell us the way to Dagenham? Oh, so that's it. A boat ride is the answer. Thank you, sir, and good day. Very well, we embark. On the way, we pass grim old structures that have looked down on the muddy waters of the Thames for centuries. What a host of memories these buildings awaken. What a story they could tell if they would. But suddenly, the tall stacks and myriad roofs of another great Ford plant loom ahead. Here we find the familiar Ford script, the busy activity, the orderliness and cleanliness that bespeak the plan of operation that makes the Ford name synonymous with fine automobiles, constructive effort, and steady improvement of facilities wherever in the world one may go. But there's no time to tarry if we are to see even a part of the great Ford industrial world. So we journey to Holland for a glimpse first of some typical Dutch scenery. Along the top of a dike, through quaint and beautiful countryside, one makes his way toward the Ford plant at Amsterdam. Like almost every other large Ford plant, this one has excellent water facilities for shipping. But after all, it isn't hard to find water in this picturesque land of canals and tulips. On the banks of the Zuider Zee stands the plant where Holland's fine cars are made. The Ford pennant flies at the masthead of Dutch ships, too. Spick and span, this factory must be dear to the hearts of the good folk, whose starched white caps and wooden shoes are the sign for cleanliness the world over. And now France beckons. Driving between Ford plants at Asnières, a Paris suburb, and Strasbourg near the German frontier, Paris, most glamorous of European capitals, is on our way. Broad boulevards follow the banks of the River Seine, lined with quaint bookstalls. In the background, the Cathedral of Notre Dame rises in age-old beauty. The Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, great public buildings and parks leave vivid memories as we strike out across the open country, with fertile land set in checkerboard squares beneath the frowning turrets of chateau and castle. Hello, put on those brakes. Here's a blockade it will take some time to get around. Look at those beauties. France's green and fertile countryside is unlike any other in the world. An odd mixture of old world simplicity and new world efficiency. And now at last, the Ford plant at Strasbourg. Many windows on the plant roof let in sunlight and fresh air. Grime and smoke are entirely lacking. Within, we find busy assembly lines, much the same as those in Dearborn, Dagenham, or Denmark. Quality through manufacturing savings is the rule in France also. With reluctance we leave, seeking still other evidence of Ford activities on a worldwide front. And what shall we say now? Is it bonjour, mademoiselle, or wie geht's, Fraulein? Or what is it? Let's just try plain hello. Hello there. No, she doesn't understand. We can't seem to make any impression on her at all. But what's this on the horizon? Oh, now we get a response. Look at her wave now. Well, I guess a Ford V8 means hello and goodbye in any language. Now we know where we are. This is Belgium, and at Antwerp, the Ford plant is built on the banks of the River Scheldt. Once again, we catch some idea of the tremendous extent of this Ford organization. Belgians, too, know good automobiles. There's no other explanation for such a splendid Ford plant. Hold on tight. It's a dizzy journey to a great city where broad plazas welcome visitors to the Paris of the Americas. You've guessed it, Buenos Aires. Here, too, we meet old friends and have no difficulty in reaching the Ford plant. And here we are. Once more, the familiar Ford name, the scrupulous cleanliness, the hum of busy activity. There are other Ford plants at Mexico City, Sao Paulo, Santiago, Montevideo, and Havana. But what a testing ground this Buenos Aires plant has. Some of the most punishing highways in the world wind up through the Andes Mountains. Over scores of hairpin turns, up steep inclines and down great hills. What a test of balance, steering ease, brakes, and engine. And just as it does in every climb, you get it? The Ford V8 answers these mountain driving requirements to the satisfaction of everyone. Look high, look low. Wherever you go, you'll find Ford V8s giving service. This time it's Shanghai. Arriving in modern steam freighters, the cars are swung into waiting river junks, among the oldest type of boats known to man. There seems to be no great rush. The coolies are philosophical about it all. This isn't the regular assembly line. The Chinese very courteously insisted on bringing their work out of doors, so we'd be sure they had nothing up their sleeve. Look, a sale already. Another satisfied V8 owner. If you don't believe that three can ride in the front seat with plenty of room to spare, watch this happy Chinese family. It's quite an event in the neighborhood when a new Ford arrives. The neighbors are out in force to witness the delivery. That's a real pagoda in the background and a real car in the foreground. Strange how East and West do meet when it comes to automobiles. And all this is only a small portion of the Ford industrial world. You have seen just a few of the 44 Ford plants that take Ford quality and service to every part.